In the cold silence of deep space, Helion Prime floated like a forgotten jewel. The massive space station orbited a dying blue star, its light dim but steady. From afar, the station looked peaceful, glowing rings, shining towers, and ships coming and going in perfect patterns. But inside, tension was building. Helion Prime was the heart of the Galactic Council, where over 50 species came together to make decisions for the galaxy. For over 100 years, humans had held a seat here. At first, they were welcomed, curious, intelligent, full of energy. But now, that warmth was gone. Captain Alex Carter stood inside his quarters, staring out at the blue star. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a calm face. His dark uniform was clean and simple, bearing only the symbol of Earth, an old, faded circle with stars around it. He had been a soldier once, now turned diplomat. His job was not to fight wars, but to stop them. He turned away from the window and looked at the message on his screen. It was a meeting notice, urgent. The council had called a full session. No agenda. No warning. Alex didn't like surprises. Minutes later, he walked down the long silver corridors of the council tower. Aliens of all shapes and colors moved past him. Some nodded politely. Others looked away. A few whispered as he passed. That wasn't normal. He entered the council chamber, a vast circular room filled with rising seats. In the center was a platform where speakers addressed the entire assembly. Floating lights lit the chamber, casting soft blue shadows on every face. Alex took his seat in the human section, empty, except for him. No aides, no friends. He looked around the chamber. The Trillari, with their crystal skin, sat still and silent. The bronze-scaled Craxonians whispered among themselves. Even the usually friendly Neuralians, with their glowing eyes, avoided his gaze. Then came the voice. Council members, boomed a deep, commanding tone. This meeting is now in session. It was High Chancellor Kaver, tall and regal, with silver skin and 4 long arms. He stood at the central podium. His voice echoed across the chamber. He was the oldest Varelian alive and had led the council for over 70 years. Alex watched him carefully. Kaver had always been cold toward humans, but never open about it. Until now. We are here today to discuss the role of humanity in this council, Kaver said. There are growing concerns that humans act in ways that endanger the balance we have worked so hard to maintain. A ripple of murmurs moved through the chamber. Alex stood. With respect, Chancellor, these claims are vague. No incident has been reported. Why now? Kaver looked directly at him. Ambassador Carter, your species has been involved in 3 conflicts in the past decade. Your colonies expand too fast. Your people push boundaries. Some call it bravery. Others call it recklessness. Alex's face stayed calm, but inside, his mind raced. This wasn't a discussion. This was a setup. Another ambassador spoke. Perhaps we should consider a vote, the Trillari delegate said. A vote on whether humans should remain in the council at all. More whispers. Some nodded. Alex sat back in his seat, heart heavy. This wasn't just politics. It was exile. He looked up at the council members, most of whom he had worked with for years. Trust was breaking, and he didn't know why. But he would find out. One thing was clear. This wasn't just a vote. It was the beginning of something much bigger. Captain Alex Carter walked slowly through the quiet halls of Helion Prime. The council session had ended, but the words still echoed in his mind. A vote on whether humans should remain. It wasn't just unexpected, it was dangerous. Once a motion like that reached the floor, anything could happen. And if enough species turned against Earth, there would be no second chance. He tapped the panel on his wrist, calling his second-in-command, Lieutenant Sanam Malik. A few seconds later, her face appeared on the small screen. Alex, she said, her voice low. I saw the broadcast. Is it real? Yes, he replied. They're calling a vote. We may be expelled. Sanaa's eyes narrowed. Do they have evidence? No. Just fear. Old wounds. And Kaver's influence. She paused. What do you want me to do? Give me a list of all council votes in the past year. Cross-check who's voted with Kaver. I want to see if this is personal or political. On it. Alex ended the call and turned into a nearby diplomatic lounge. The room was empty, dimly lit. Soft blue walls changed color as he entered. The place was meant for quiet talks, secret deals, and off-the-record discussions. Today, it felt like a tomb. A soft click came from the door. Someone else entered, Ambassador Sarathal of the Neuralians. Tall and elegant, her skin shimmered like liquid glass, and her eyes glowed faintly blue. She gave him a respectful nod. Captain Carter. Sarathal, Alex replied. You saw the vote. I did. And I came to warn you. Alex raised an eyebrow. Go on. There is a shift happening, she said. Many believe the council is growing too, human. Your ideas, your ambition, your technology, it spreads fast. Some species feel they are being pushed aside. We've followed every rule, Alex said. We've helped where we could. We signed every treaty. We even backed down during the Varnock crisis, just to keep the peace. She nodded. Yes, but it's not about rules anymore. It's about fear. Alex leaned against the table. Do you believe we should be removed? No, she said firmly. But I cannot speak for my council. We are under pressure. Kaver has been working in the shadows, meeting privately with other ambassadors, offering favors. He wants this vote to pass. Why? Alex asked. He's never liked humans, but this seems extreme. Sarathal hesitated. I don't know, but he's hiding something. That confirmed what Alex already suspected. This wasn't just about politics. It was about power. And Kaver was playing a long game. Later that day, Alex returned to his quarters. Sanaa had already sent the data. He scrolled through vote logs, alliances, meetings. Patterns began to form. 12 species had changed their voting behavior recently, all siding with Kaver. And all had trade deals approved in the last 2 months. It was too neat. Too clean. Alex sat back and stared at the ceiling. If Kaver was buying loyalty, it meant this was planned. It wasn't a reaction. It was a strategy. But what was the endgame? The door chimed. Another visitor. This time, it was Ambassador Vurek of the Craxonians. His bronze scale shimmered as he stepped into the room. Craxonians were a proud species, known for their blunt honesty. Carter, he said with a low growl. I come with warning. Alex gestured for him to sit. Go ahead. Kaver plans to bring the vote within 3 cycles. You won't have time to prepare. He thinks you'll panic. Alex leaned forward. Why are you telling me this? Because I remember Earth's help during the famine on Kret 6, Vurek said. Your ships brought food when no one else came. My people owe you. Alex nodded. Then I need your help again. I need time and the truth. Vurek stood. I will do what I can. But be ready. This storm is coming fast. The ambassador left, and Alex sat in silence. The walls were closing in. Time was running out, and trust was in short supply. But he still had allies. And he still had the truth. Now, he had to decide how to use them. Captain Alex Carter didn't sleep that night. He sat at his desk in silence, eyes fixed on the screen in front of him. The dim light from the dying star outside cast long shadows across his quarters. The station was quiet now, but he could feel the pressure building. On his screen, rows of data blinked and scrolled, vote records, trade approvals, shipping routes, meeting logs. Each line told part of a story. And that story was starting to make sense. 12 council members had shifted loyalty to High Chancellor Kaver. It wasn't random. It wasn't political. It was paid. Each species had recently signed resource agreements or received council funding, deals brokered by Kaver's office. Alex marked each one and linked them to nearby systems rich in one specific material, Zenthite. Zenthite was rare. More powerful than any fuel, used in faster-than-light drives and military tech. It was also unstable and heavily regulated. Most known Zenthite deposits were in neutral zones or human-claimed territory. And that's when it clicked. If humans were removed from the council, their claim to those zones would weaken. Kaver could take control of the Zenthite fields legally, quietly. It wasn't fear driving the vote. It was greed. Alex stood up and walked to the small window. Helion Prime drifted in orbit, silent and still, but underneath it calm, the game was moving fast. He needed proof. And there was only one place to find it, the council archives. The archives were located in the deepest part of the station, far from the main halls. Access was restricted. Every conversation, trade, or deal handled through the council was recorded there, but not all of it was made public. Alex left his quarters and moved quickly through the empty corridors. At this hour, few were awake. He passed the glowing statues of past chancellors and the dark, lifeless fountains in the Grand Hall. When he reached the archive entrance, a single guard stood watch. Tall, armored, and silent. Ambassador Carter, the guard said. You don't have clearance for this level. Alex smiled faintly. Check again. He handed over a diplomatic override chip, one of the few privileges still left to senior ambassadors. The guard scanned it, hesitated, then stepped aside. You have 1 hour. I won't need more, Alex replied. Inside, the air was colder. Long rows of data pillars reached to the ceiling. Lights blinked softly as thousands of records hummed around him. He moved to a console and entered his query. Private trade logs, Caver, past 60 days. The system pushed back with an error. Access denied. Alex frowned. Then he typed another command. Cross-search, Varelian diplomatic fleet plus Zenthite mining contracts. Again, access denied. He narrowed his eyes. Even ambassadors were supposed to view general trade records. Someone had locked these. Caver. Alex wasn't a hacker, but he knew how to dig. He redirected the search, this time not looking for Caver directly, but for ships registered under shell companies recently granted diplomatic clearance by the Council. Bingo. 6 vessels. All registered to neutral merchants. All recently allowed into human-claimed sectors. One ship stood out, the Zephyr Dawn, approved just 2 weeks ago. Its path led straight through an asteroid belt known to contain high-density Zenthite. Alex opened the ship's clearance documents. The signature at the bottom made his stomach tighten. Chancellor Caver. This was the proof he needed. Before he could pull more, a warning flashed on the console. Security alert. Someone knew he was there. He quickly downloaded the files to a secure drive and shut the console down. As he turned, he heard footsteps. 2 guards entered, weapons at their sides. Ambassador Carter, one said. You've accessed restricted files. I used legal clearance, Alex replied calmly, slipping the data drive into a hidden pocket. You need to come with us. Alex nodded, hands raised. Of course. They walked him back to his quarters. No force. No words. But the message was clear. He was being watched now. After the guards left, Alex locked his door and sat down. He had the truth. But revealing it could cost him everything, his post, his freedom, maybe even his life. Still, the choice was simple. Let Caver win quietly, or fight back with the truth. Alex closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened the secure drive and began to prepare his next move. Captain Alex Carter stood at the center of his darkened quarters, the soft hum of Helion Prime surrounding him like a quiet warning. The data drive sat in his palm, small and cold. Inside it were the files that could expose High Chancellor Caver's plan, hidden trade routes, secret mining contracts, and evidence of ships entering human-controlled space under false names. But truth alone wasn't enough. Alex knew how the Council worked. Facts could be buried. Evidence could be dismissed as misunderstood. Caver had power, and he used it with care. If Alex made a wrong move, the files would vanish, and with them, humanity's place in the galaxy. He needed allies. Real ones. Not just silent supporters who offered kind words behind closed doors, but voices willing to stand with him on the Council floor. He opened a secure line to Lieutenant Sanam Malik. I got the files, he said. Good, she replied. Are they solid? Very. They show Caver's signature on mining clearances sent to ships disguised as merchant vessels. It links directly to human-controlled Zenthite zones. There was a pause. So what's the next step? She asked. I need support from at least a third of the Council to delay the vote, Alex said. If I rush this out now, Caver will spin it as desperation. But if I can show other ambassadors the truth privately, they might shift. Who can you trust? That's the problem, he said. I don't know anymore. He ended the call and stared at the dark ceiling. The stars outside Helion Prime felt farther than ever. The next morning, Alex made his first stop, the Neurelian sector. Ambassador Sarathal greeted him with her usual calm, her glowing eyes unreadable. I need a word, Alex said. Off the record. They stepped into a private chamber. Once the door sealed, Alex placed the drive on the table and projected the contents. Trade records. Ship logs. Caver's approval codes. Sarathal studied the data, her expression steady. This is serious, she said. It's real, Alex replied. And if Caver wins the vote, he'll own every major Zenthite field near human territory. She looked up. You want my support? I need more than that. I need you to speak, to bring in other species still sitting on the fence. Sarathal nodded slowly. I believe you, Alex. But belief isn't enough. If I move publicly, my position will be questioned. You said yourself the Council was built on trust. If that's still true, this matters. She studied his face for a long moment. Then she nodded once. I'll speak to the Thelosians and the Vitan. Quietly. No promises, but I'll try. Hours passed. Alex reached out to other ambassadors. Some answered. Most didn't. Others offered polite excuses. By evening, he had only 2 solid supporters and a handful of maybes. He returned to his quarters, exhausted, but there was no time to rest. The vote was now only 2 days away. He reviewed the data again and crafted a short message, direct, undeniable, and carefully worded. It highlighted the proof without sounding like an attack. He couldn't afford to look emotional. He needed to look professional, calm, in control. He scheduled the message to reach all council members in the morning. Then he sat back and rubbed his face with his hands. "You've done what you can," he told himself. But just as he closed his eyes, his door chimed. It was Ambassador Vurek of the Craxonians again. "You're being watched," the large alien said, stepping in without waiting for an invitation. Alex nodded. "I figured." "No. Watch closely. Kaver knows you have something. He's moving faster now." Alex stood. "Then I have to move too." Vurek crossed his arms. "There are risks. If this goes wrong." "I know," Alex interrupted. "But if we let this happen, humans won't be the only ones at risk. Kaver's not just targeting Earth. He's targeting control. Power." Vurek said nothing for a moment. Then he nodded. "I'll speak at the vote. My people will stand with yours." Alex's chest tightened, but this time with relief. "Thank you," he said quietly. Vurek's eyes narrowed. "Just don't die before then." With that, the ambassador turned and left. Later that night, Alex sat alone again. He looked at the stars through the window. Stars that once meant exploration, hope, and discovery. Now they looked like battlegrounds. But there was still a chance. A small one. The truth was ready. The council would soon decide. And Alex Carter would be ready to face them. The great council chamber of Helion Prime was never silent. But today, it was quieter than usual. There was a tension in the air, thick and heavy. Whispers floated above the rows of ambassadors. Faces were unreadable. Some were calm. Others looked nervous. No one was smiling. Captain Alex Carter stood at the edge of the chamber, his heart steady but his mind sharp. He had been through combat. He had faced danger on the edges of known space. But nothing felt as cold and serious as this moment. Today, the council would vote, and humanity's future in the galaxy would be decided. Alex walked slowly to his seat. His eyes moved from one ambassador to another. A few gave small nods. Vurek from the Craxonians, Sarathal from the Neuralians. Quiet signals of support. Others looked away. Across the chamber, on the central platform, High Chancellor Kaver stood tall and confident. He wore dark ceremonial robes lined with silver. His voice, as always, carried weight. "The council is in session," Kaver announced. "Today, we vote on a motion brought forward by several members to remove the human delegation from the Galactic Council." Gasps and murmurs moved through the crowd. Alex stood. "Before this vote proceeds, I request the floor." Kaver raised an eyebrow. "You may speak, Ambassador Carter." Alex stepped onto the central platform. All eyes turned to him. "Members of the council," he began, his voice clear. "This motion is not based on law. It is not based on any breach of conduct. It is based on fear, and worse, on greed." More whispers. Some delegates sat forward in their seats. "I have evidence," Alex continued, "that this vote is part of a larger plan. One designed to remove humans from the council so that a certain species may gain control of valuable xenthite fields in human space." He raised his hand and activated the holoprojector. In the air above the platform, images appeared. Trade records, ship clearances, authorization codes. Each one tied to vessels allowed into human zones under false names. Each one signed by Chancellor Kaver. The chamber burst into noise. Voices rose. A few shouted. Others began to demand explanations. Kaver remained calm. Too calm. "These files are taken from restricted council archives," he said, his voice hard, "which the human ambassador accessed without proper clearance." Alex replied quickly. "The files were accessed with a diplomatic override, a tool given to all senior ambassadors. The law was followed. The truth is here." Kaver turned to the council. "You must decide. Do you let one species threaten order with wild accusations? Or do you protect the unity we've built for centuries?" Alex looked at the room, his voice softer now. "Humans are not perfect. We've made mistakes, like every species here. But we've contributed. We've sacrificed. We've helped rebuild after war. We came to this council to be part of something bigger than ourselves." He paused. "If you vote us out now, because of hidden deals and backroom power games, you are not voting against Earth. You are voting against justice." Silence. Then Ambassador Vurek rose. "My people owe our lives to humans. When we faced famine, Earth sent help without asking for trade or payment. I stand with Ambassador Carter. Sarathal stood next. The Neuralians believe in truth. The evidence is strong. We request the vote be delayed, pending a formal investigation. A third voice joined. Then a fourth. Kaver looked tense now. The shift was visible. Still, the vote had to go forward. Kaver gave a sharp nod. Very well. Let the vote begin. Each ambassador placed their vote into the system. Lights blinked. The chamber grew quiet again. Alex stood still, breathing slow. He didn't look at the screen. He watched the faces. Then the results appeared, glowing in the air. Motion to remove the human delegation. Rejected. Vote count. 4. 23 against. 27 abstain. 5. Gasps again. And then, silence. Alex let out a quiet breath. They had done it. Barely, but they had won. Kaver stepped back from the platform without another word. He said nothing as he left the chamber. Alex remained a moment longer. Then he turned and walked calmly to his seat. Behind him, the whispers had changed. They were no longer about removal. Now, they were about truth and power. The council chamber emptied slowly after the vote. Some ambassadors walked out in silence. Others left in pairs, speaking in hushed tones. Some avoided eye contact altogether. But a few nodded quietly at Captain Alex Carter as they passed, small signs of respect, earned in a single, tense session. Alex remained seated for a moment longer, gathering his thoughts. The results were still fresh in his mind. 27 had voted to keep humans in the council. 23 had voted for removal. 5 had stayed neutral. A narrow victory, but a victory all the same. Still, he didn't feel like celebrating. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something new, and possibly more dangerous. As Alex walked through the halls of HFY Prime, he saw more security than usual. Guards stood at corners, scanning everyone who passed. Their presence wasn't new, but now it felt heavier, like the council was preparing for something. He passed a wide observation window and stopped. Outside, the dying blue star burned in silence. Fleets of ships moved slowly through the surrounding space. The stars beyond them glittered like cold watchers. Alex knew the vote had changed the council, but it hadn't stopped Kaver. If anything, it had exposed him. That could make him desperate. Inside his quarters, Alex found Lieutenant Sanam Malik waiting. "You saw the count?" he asked. "I did," she replied. "You pulled it off." "Barely," Alex said. "And only because a few people chose truth over fear." He walked to his desk and dropped a small data chip on the table. "This is everything we used in the chamber. I want copies sent to every human colony. They need to see what almost happened." Sanaa nodded. "I'll take care of it." She hesitated before adding, "There's talk already that some council members are calling for an investigation into Kaver." Alex looked at her. "They should, but they won't move fast. He still has friends in high places. And enemies now," she said. "Including us." Alex nodded slowly. "We've made it clear, we won't be pushed aside." A chime interrupted them. A message. It was from Sarathal. The projection lit up. Her image stood calmly in the room. "Ambassador Carter," she said, "I wanted to speak to you before I depart. I believe more changes are coming to the council. You have exposed something deeper than one man's ambition. Other species are watching. Some are rethinking their silence." Alex folded his arms. "Good. Silence helped Kaver get this far." She gave a slight smile. "Change takes time. But you've started it." After she disconnected, Alex turned to Sanaa. "Did you ever think we'd come this close to losing everything?" She shook her head. "No. But maybe it had to happen. Now the others see us clearly. Not as a threat, not as heroes, but as equals." Alex sat down and leaned back. Outside the window, one of the Varelian patrol ships drifted by. Still present. Still watching. He didn't trust that Kaver would stay quiet for long. But now, humans weren't alone. The next day, a formal statement was delivered across the council. The motion to remove humanity had been defeated, but an internal ethics review had begun. Multiple ambassadors had raised questions about trade practices and unchecked authority. Kaver didn't speak publicly, but his absence from the next council session spoke volumes. Alex entered the chamber to find a new energy in the air. No whispers this time. No turned faces. Instead, a small line of ambassadors greeted him one by one. Some offered words. Some just nodded. But it was clear, his actions had left a mark. He took his seat and looked out over the chamber. The council would not be the same. Neither would he. In defending humanity's place, He had reminded the entire galaxy what that place truly was. Not above others, not below, but beside them. 2 standard weeks had passed since the vote. Helion Prime was no longer filled with whispers and tension. The council continued its business, debating trade policies, settling border disputes, approving aid missions. On the surface, everything had returned to normal. But Captain Alex Carter knew the truth. The vote had changed more than just humanity's place in the council. It had shaken the foundation beneath it. For years, power had moved in silence, behind closed doors. Now, with Caver exposed and under review, that silence had broken. The old rules no longer held. And the galaxy was watching. Alex walked the outer ring of the station, a quiet path that curved around the council tower. Here, glass panels stretched floor to ceiling, offering a full view of the stars. Beyond them, ships came and went, leaving bright streaks of light in the dark sky. He paused at the edge of one window. Below him, Earth's ambassadorial vessel, Unity's Light, rested in dock. It was due to return to the colonies the next day. Alex would be on it. His mission at Helion Prime was over. He had come to represent Earth. He had nearly watched it fall from grace. But he had stood his ground and won. The door behind him slid open with a soft sound. He turned. It was Sarathal. "I heard you're leaving tomorrow," she said. Alex nodded. "Yes, I think my time here is done. At least for now." She stepped beside him, her glowing eyes watching the stars. "You made many enemies. But you also changed minds. Quietly. That matters more." Alex gave a slight smile. "Change isn't always loud." "No," she agreed. "But it echoes." There was a short silence between them. "I received a message this morning," she added. "The Vitin have proposed a vote to reduce the Chancellor's executive power. A direct result of your evidence." Alex raised his eyebrows. "That's a bold move." "It's a start." He turned back to the stars. "I didn't come here to cause division. I just wanted fairness. A seat at the table where we could speak for ourselves." "And now you have it," Sarathal said. "Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it." She offered him a respectful nod, then quietly left the corridor. Later that evening, Alex stood alone in his quarters, the room nearly packed. His personal belongings were few: an old photo of Earth's moon, a worn book of star maps, and the small data drive that had changed everything. He picked it up, turning it slowly in his hand. The evidence had done its part. But it was more than just data. It was a reminder of how fragile trust could be, and how quickly it could be repaired if someone was willing to fight for it. The door chimed. Lieutenant Sanam Malik entered. "Everything's ready. We depart at 0600, she said. "Thank you," Alex replied. "You've been solid through all of this." "I only did my job." "No," he said. "You did more than that." She smiled, then gestured to the window. "A lot of stars out there. Still a lot of work to do." Alex looked out one last time. Helion Prime glowed behind them, quiet now, but forever changed. The next morning, the Unity's light lifted from the dock and moved into open space. Alex stood on the command deck, watching as the station grew smaller behind them. He took a deep breath. He didn't feel like a hero. He didn't want to be one. But he had stood up when it mattered. He had told the truth, even when it was dangerous. And the galaxy had listened. As the stars stretched ahead and the ship prepared for its jump to faster-than-light travel, Alex spoke quietly to himself. "The day we almost lost our place was the day we truly earned it." He turned, walked away from the window, and took his seat among his crew. The future waited.